BlackFacts.com presents Educational Series, Black History in America. 1896, Separate but Equal. Narrated by Timbuktu. As Reconstruction drew to a close and the forces of white supremacy regained control from carpetbaggers, Northerners who moved south, and freed black people, Southern state legislatures began enacting the first segregation laws, known as the Jim Crow laws. Taken from a much-copied minstrel routine written by a white actor who performed often in blackface, the name Jim Crow came to serve as a general derogatory term for African Americans in the post-Reconstruction South. By 1885, most Southern states had laws requiring separate schools for black and white students, and by 1900, persons of color were required to be separated from white people in railroad cars and depots, hotels, theaters, restaurants, barbershops, and other establishments. For those places that were racially mixed, blacks had to wait until all white customers were dealt with. Though many such laws were instituted shortly after fighting ended, they only became formalized after the 1877 end of the Reconstruction period. On May 18, 1896, the U.S. Supreme Court issued its verdict in Plessy v. Ferguson, a case that represented the first major test of the meaning of the 14th Amendment's provision of full and equal citizenship to African Americans. By an 8-to-1 majority, the court upheld a Louisiana law that required the segregation of passengers on railroad cars. By asserting that the Equal Protection Clause was not violated as long as reasonably equal conditions were provided to both groups, the court established the separate but equal doctrine that would thereafter be used for assessing the constitutionality of racial segregation laws. Plessy v. Ferguson stood as the overriding judicial precedent in civil rights cases until 1954, when it was reversed by the court's verdict in Brown v. Board of Education. To learn more about Black history, visit www.blackfacts.com.